We need to. Here we are. Technical things are not my, they're not good for me. So I've had lots of technical problems this morning, so it's throwing me off. Sorry about that. But hey, I'm Sarah from mostmotion, and I'm here with another Mobility Matters episode for every sports and fitness coach who wants to help their clients break the injury cycle so they can stop just standing by and watching as their clients suffer with persistent injury issues or just one injury after another. They want to really help the clients break that cycle, even though they don't know where to start. So if that's you, this video is for you. And today we're going to talk about the injury prevention trap and how not to get sucked in, okay? So the purpose of today is to demonstrate to you how you can help your clients to increase their satisfaction so they love you more than they already do. You want to increase their motivation, their mindset, how long they stay with you, and ultimately your income as well. So how did we get here? And this is before, I'm just going to tell you a quick story before we dive into what the injury prevention trap is. Okay, so I have always been about as flexible as a brick. Literally, I could never touch my toes when I was a kid. It was always a real issue for me. But I was physically assaulted in my early 20s, and I felt so ashamed by that I never told anybody about it for about 15 years. And it wasn't until somebody was treating me, I was very, very sensitive to treatment because I had an additional, I was manipulated badly about a year later, and they strained the ligaments in my spine. And that meant that I was so sensitive to treatment that I couldn't have normal kind of treatment. And it wasn't until a therapist said to me, your reaction to my treatment is not normal. I think you might have symptoms of PTSD. I think you need to go and talk to somebody about it. So it wasn't until that happened about 15 years later. Okay, so why am I telling you this? It's because your clients are holding things back from you because of what they think about it, how they feel about it, and it's nothing to do with you. Okay, so I've been in that situation, your clients are in that situation, you're probably in that situation, and we need to acknowledge that so that we can allow our clients to move forwards. We can help them move forwards with everything that they're doing. Okay, so sport has been my life and never really fit in at school. Couldn't tell you how many friends I had at high school. It was probably one or two. So I thought, or I was told very early on, that I would make a very good PE teacher. So I thought this was a perfect opportunity to hide from everybody else. I didn't really enjoy hanging out with people of my age anyway, so I started helping the PE teachers in my school to teach the kids who were younger than me, and that started about age 13. So I have been in your situation for a very, very long time, and then because of my own injuries, these have been the focus of my career, because let's face it, you start out as a general personal trainer, then you get a bit fed up of it and you want to specialize in something. So injuries was my area of interest because it had happened to me, and I was struggling with lots of little nagging little problems. I had ankle problems, knee problems, hip problems, back problems, shoulder problems, you name it, and it felt like it was just chasing them around my body the whole time. So I wanted to understand what they were, and I wanted to go and learn about them so I could help other people avoid them. So I went, I've had all experience from lots and lots of different ways of looking at injuries. I've had my own injuries, I coached people with injuries, and I've also became a soft tissue therapist because I thought treating people's injuries was the way to help them move forwards. But as you're going to discover, this was a big problem, and what I ended up doing was helping people to prevent injuries in the first place. So like I said, I spent my whole career dealing with injuries, done a master's in sports injury. I've done all the industry qualifications you can think of. So I've done corrective exercise, I've done low back pain management, I've worked in the NHS as a rehabilitation assistant, all that kind of stuff. And like I said, I was a soft tissue therapist, and that approach was a pain-free approach. I learned how to articulate joints, which meant moving the joints to influence the tissue. And I also worked in energy medicine, which is super powerful and very, very cool. If you've never heard about it, go and learn about it. It's very, very interesting. Okay, so I tried, when people were coming to me, I have movement background, I exercise background. So when I had patients coming to me for their injuries, I would try and layer my injury knowledge onto some exercise so that I could give them exercises to do at home that would help them develop their treatment. And this was really, really successful because they were very simple exercises. They felt like they were useful, and I wasn't bombarding them with like 25 learning points or teaching points. You know, you need to remember this, 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 this. If people think that they're going to do it wrong, they don't do it on their own. So I learned that very quickly, and that was why the exercises were very, very simple. But the problem was I managed to put myself out of business in the therapy world by giving these people these exercises, because they would come back to me, like maybe they'd come every week to start with, and I'd give them a couple of exercises. And during the week, they'd go, oh, I did those exercises you gave me when the pain came back and it went away again. So then they wouldn't come for 2 weeks, and then they wouldn't come for 4 weeks. And then it was months since I'd seen them, and then they'd just disappear for years. Okay. And that was because the movements that I gave them were helping them to get rid of their pain on their own. So the penny dropped for me, it occurred to me that if we started using these movements before the pain happened, then we might get somewhere in terms of these pains never happening in the first place. So I knew from treating my patients that they needed to go through the treatment spectrum. And that for me is coming to me in absolute pain and not being able to move, and going back to full fitness with no pain at all. Okay, there's a spectrum that you go through. So first of all, you need lots of treatment and then a little bit of exercise, and then the exercise gradually increases and the treatment gradually decreases, and eventually you can just go back to exercise. That's the treatment spectrum. I knew how to do it all, but my clients didn't want me to do that. It was too confusing for them. They didn't want me to be doing their exercise. They wanted me to be doing their treatment. But I couldn't pass them on to anybody who was doing the same thing as I was, because they didn't understand what it is that I was trying to do. And they ended up not following the treatment all the way through. So I started putting these movements online for people to follow in video format, so they could just follow along with me doing their treatment exercises at home. And they were, again, really, really successful. And that meant that I could take my business online, which was great. But then I started working alongside their coaches. And the problem was the clients, either my patients, the coaches' clients, didn't want to either pay two professionals for movement stuff, because at that point we were just doing injury movements, or they didn't want to have to manage two people in the same setting. So let's say, for example, I was working with triathlon coaches quite a lot. So I would work with the triathletes on their own movement issues, and then they would go to their coach, and the coach was working on their triathlon issues. So it was very difficult for the clients to try and manage everybody all at once. They just wanted one person to tell them what to do. And this is why I developed the Smart Coach Education series, because I didn't want the clients to have the headache of trying to deal with two different people at once. So I created this for coaches, personal trainers, anybody who is dealing with exercise with people, whether it's groups or individual people. The idea is that we work together, you and I, to understand what is going on so that client doesn't have to think about it. And that is a really, really powerful thing to take away from your client, is the stress of having to deal with and think about their own particular issues. Okay, so now I have that headache, but this is where it gets really, really fun, because you and I can dive right into all the technical stuff that we love dealing with, but the client doesn't have to do that. Okay, so the industry focuses your knowledge on the needs of your client. So they might need to improve their technique, so that's what you coach them. But most of the time, it doesn't relate to what they want. And this is where the Smart Coach series is really, really powerful, okay? Because when you're giving your client what they don't want, then that makes you look bad, it decreases your client's satisfaction, and that leads to poor retention, okay? So I've taken everything that they want and everything that you want, and I've mashed it all together so that we can get a much better result for everybody concerned, okay? And I'm gonna show you this through the steps of your existing coaching structure, okay? So then we're gonna look at the injury prevention trap, what it is, what the Smart Coach Education Series really is, and then we're gonna go through the steps of it, okay? So what is the injury prevention trap? Well, it's believing that preventing injuries is about the techniques you use, okay? So there's always arguments about which is the best method for mobility, whether it's foam rolling or voodoo bands or, I don't know, things that affect your nerves or whatever, okay? People believe that preventing injuries is about those techniques, and it really isn't, okay? Did you know that preventing injuries starts from the very second you see your client, okay? So it could be in person, it could be on video, but the second that you see them, that's when the injury prevention starts, okay? And I'm going to show you how that happens as we go through this presentation. Okay, so what is the Smart Coach Education Series? Well, like I said, it's a series of training that walks you through every single stage of your existing coaching structure. And it shows you how to blend injury prevention into what you're already doing, which means that you can have that technical knowledge, you can get deep into that, all those things that makes your brain fizz, okay? You can make that your focus, but we can keep it super simple, very relevant, and very recognizable to your client, which means that we're helping them to increase their satisfaction. We're going to take away all the things they don't like doing. We're going to make them happier with what they are doing. That means they're going to stay with you for longer. They're going to be more motivated to do what you ask them to. And as a consequence, that's going to help increase your bottom line. So, step one, that's the greeting, okay? Every coach on the planet starts with, hello, how are you? How have you been since I last saw you? Have you got any injuries I need to know about? Okay? These words are exactly when your decision-making process starts, okay? But you have assumptions about what they say, and they are saying what they think you want to hear, okay? We go back to the example of me being physically assaulted and that impacting my body. Firstly, I didn't recognize that it was impacting my body in such a big way. It meant that I couldn't push myself to max effort, okay? So when I was doing my triathlon swimming, people would say sprint, eyeballs out, right to the very end. Can't do that, makes me shake, don't want to do it. So I would get very disheartened, I'd go to the back of the lane, and I would just bumble about at the back, okay? That makes me feel terrible because I can't give it full beans in my training, okay? Everybody goes to their training session because they want to get the most out of it. And that is all your clients want to do. They just want to get the most out of it, okay? If they think that telling you something is going to stop that happening, they're just not going to say it. So they might not recognize it, they might not be aware of it, and they might not want to say it. In which case, those words that they tell you are irrelevant. But those words are what you're basing your decisions on, okay? So if they say to you, yeah, I'm fine, yeah, no problems, but really they've got a bit of a nagging knee, then you will start the session and then eventually they'll just go, yeah, I can't do that, my knee hurts. Okay, so why didn't you tell me that before? Okay, these are problems that coaches have all the time. These are problems that clients have all the time, okay? But this is where we can dive really deep into things like human behavior. So we can look at their body language and how they feel about themselves influences how they move, but also any tightness that they might have in their body will also influence how they move. And that's why in part one, we focus on them, Okay, so how can we get more information about them and what's happening with them before we start making decisions? Okay, so we want to improve their motivation. We want to get to the root cause of the problem. So our decision-making process is more focused, it's more specific, and it's going to get better results. Okay, so then we're going to look at how to create real behavior change as well. Now, the second part of this is where most coaches fall down. Okay, if you are not an injury rehab specialist, or your focus isn't injuries, then this is where you'll get drawn into very dangerous water if you're not careful. Okay, if somebody comes to you and says, I have a pain here, or you ask them, because we have to, because of our guidelines, do you have any injuries that I need to know about? Okay, there's an assumption from the client that you know what to do about it because you asked, but there's also that feeling of, oh, I don't know what to do about this, so we'll just train around it, or we'll avoid it so I don't irritate it in this session. Okay, so you need to know where you stand in terms of your your industry guidelines, so that you know how you can help. Okay, there's loads you can do to help without ever stepping over your boundaries as a coach or treading on anybody else's toes. Okay, and by looking at this in detail, you're going to get way more confidence to be able to help those people that you're trying to help, or you're wishing you could help anyway. Okay, that simple bit of information, getting the information from your client without them having to say anything, and you understanding where your boundaries are, is so powerful, and it's going to make such a big difference to your clients. Okay, you know you're going to keep yourself safe, and you're going to help them keep themselves safe too. Okay, if you don't have this information, the temptation is to say, oh, we'll try this because you've heard it from somebody else, you've had that problem yourself, something like that, and that's where you get into dangerous water, because that's overstepping your guidelines as a coach. Okay, so the greeting is the first thing we need to deal with, and we need to focus on, because that's how our decision-making process starts. Okay, so then we need to look at moving around. The warm-up is the next step of our existing coaching structure. Okay, and this is where your clients just really want to get on with their training. Yeah, okay, they've probably been sitting down all day at work if they've come to you after work, or if they're first thing on the morning, they've been laying in bed all day. Okay, they know they need to move around a little bit, they need to feel a bit warmer before they start exercising properly. But this is where you are bored. Okay, every coach on the planet goes, yeah, warm up. It's not very challenging for people. It's not very interesting. It's just a case of raising body temperature. But that's not true, okay? There's a perfect opportunity here for you to start preventing injuries here, okay? This is something for your brain to dig right into, so that you can just get your brain fizzing with all that information, all that detail that it needs, but then we can apply it through your thinking, through your coaching skills, into results that meet both your client's needs and your needs. Okay, what you want out of the session. Your client just wants to get on with it. They don't want to fiddle about on a foam roller. They don't want to, just jog around the room for 5 minutes. They want something challenging. They want something specific and relevant to the reason that they've come to you for coaching. Okay, so when we use the applied variety of movement approach that I have, my exclusive 3M flow formula, then you can make this warm up and the cool down and the recovery day, by the way, much more specific, much more appropriate to them, and prevent injury at the same time. So you don't need to spend any time focusing on mobility. Okay, you can just get your clients up and moving around in the way that they want straight away. Okay, so another step in your coaching structure is skill acquisition and strength building. Okay, now again, your clients just want to get on with their training. Okay, let's use the clients, for example, the triathletes, for example. Okay, they might not want to spend ages trying to do a deadlift to get stronger for triathlon, okay? And even if you've got clients who want to be doing deadlifts, they don't want to stand there and break the whole thing down into tiny movements that they have to repeat over and over again in the hope that they might get it right, okay? They want it so that they are just getting on with it. If they could do 3, I don't know, max effort deadlifts or 1 rep max or whatever as their workout, that's the thing that they want to be doing. It needs to feel relevant to them. They don't care about doing drills. Okay, they might logically explain it to themselves, they might tolerate it, but if you can take it away and make it much more interesting, much more challenging, specific to them and relevant to what they want to achieve as their results, then you are going to get much more satisfied clients, you're going to get much better results, and you can dive your little brain into all that technical, lovely detail that makes us feel so great, okay? Your clients don't need to know that. And if you're focusing on breaking skills down and individually repeating bits over and over again, you are focusing on their problems. Even though we call it improving technique, okay, by that name in itself, by association, we're inferring that they have a problem. Clients do not want to focus on their problems. Okay, they've got enough problems going on in life. The last thing that they want to do when they come to your training session is focus on all the things they're doing wrong, okay? Or spend 25 repetitions trying to get one that goes right, okay? When we take all that away, we can focus on moving them differently. We can experiment with how it feels to do different things different ways, and that gives them a challenge. It gives their brain a challenge. It gives them relevance to what they're doing, and it also helps them learn quicker, okay? You can have all the technical detail in your head of why they're doing it, and you can explain it to them if they ask. But when it comes to getting on with the session, they will not look at you kindly if you keep putting things in the way of them getting on with what they want to do, okay? They might logically explain it to themselves, like, oh, I need to do this to get better. But if you can take it away, you're going to look amazing. And that's what we want. So the 4th step is to not stop there, okay? When your clients have problems, they just want somebody to understand it, they want somebody to take it away, and they want somebody to keep them training, okay? But you want to feel useful. If somebody comes to you and says, oh, I've hurt my shoulder, okay? You want to feel useful. You want to demonstrate your knowledge, okay? But because we've used up all of the elements of your existing coaching structure, doesn't mean to say we have to stop there, okay? Now we can start including other people into this little world that we're creating, okay? When we start to coordinate with other professionals without overstepping our coaching boundaries and without stepping on anybody else's toes, okay, then we can start to make a real difference. I have never met a therapist who is dealing with injuries that doesn't want help to fast track somebody's recovery and to help prevent them from getting these injuries again, okay? We all want to help our people, but the therapist wants to be confident that you're not trying to repeat what they're doing. You're not trying to unwittingly or not disrupt any of their treatment either. They want to know that you are going to complement them, okay? And the industry is way too focused on us repeating their treatment, okay? They're dragging us away from coaching and they're pushing us down the route of treatment and rehab and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't need to be that way. If you want to do that, cool. If you don't want to do that, you don't have to. You can still be part of this conversation about injuries and you can still make a valid contribution. In fact, most therapists would thank you for getting involved, okay? So now it's about what you want, it's about what your clients want, and it's about what the therapists want as well. But it doesn't stop there either. So step 5 is about creating true change, okay? And we can only do this through collaboration. Now, the big thing to remember here is that everybody is trying to help their clients, and we all have different preferences and strengths, okay? We're talking about individual people here. We're not talking about generic assumptions about everyone, okay? Every therapist will have their specific area of therapy that they like, whether it's first acute injuries when it very first happens, whether it's late stage rehabilitation, anything to do with injuries and the process that we go through. Everybody's going to have that little area that jumps out to them they really love doing. Coaches are exactly the same, okay? But when we can start and tag together everybody's strengths, so you can start and create a little ecosystem of people that really enjoy every little stage of what's happening, then you can give your clients what they truly want, because your clients don't want to have to explain what's happening with them to everybody. They don't want to have to deal with lots and lots of people. They don't want to have to deal with a therapist and a coach and a psychotherapist or a counselor or whatever. They want everybody who is involved in their lives to communicate together without them, okay? If we focus all of that pressure on our clients and they make the decisions, we end up with very fragmented situation that we're in now, because the client is the person who knows the least about the situation, but they're the one making all the decisions. So they will stop going to the therapist when they think the pain's gone because, well, the pain's gone. They don't understand the entire treatment process. So they will just go back to training because, well, the pain's gone, why not? Okay? We need to help them to move past this idea. We need to take that pressure off them. We need to communicate properly together. And you want to feel part of a team. You want to feel useful. You want to focus on your strengths and your interests, and you don't want to feel like you're doing this all by yourself, because it's not possible. Trust me, I have been there and I have tried to do everything myself. It really doesn't work. So when we all communicate together and we all focus our attentions on what we love doing, we can link with those people, we can take all that stress away from our clients, and we can create real change in the industry, okay? And then the last step is getting recognition for all of that work, okay? And this is where the Smart Safe mark comes in, okay? So once you've done all this hard work, you want your clients to instantly recognize that you know what you're talking about, okay? And the Smart Safe mark achieves that with a simple logo. So it's available to businesses and clubs who have put in the effort to get all of their coaches, everybody certified to the level that they want to be certified to, okay? So not everybody is going to want to go through this entire process. There's going to be some coaches that just want a little bit more information about how to get better feedback from their clients. There's going to be some who want to be able to focus their injury prevention on their warm-ups and their cool-downs and their recovery. And there's going to be strength specialists who want to focus a bit more on that. And there's going to be people who want to get more involved in the injury stuff. When we all start putting those skills together, we can work as a team. When you have that team, you get this logo, and then you can show to the whole world how cool you really are and how much you care about your clients. Okay, so we covered what is the injury prevention trap. That is, don't forget, thinking that injury prevention is about the mobility methods that we're trying to use, okay? It really isn't. So the Smart Coach Education series is the series of training that goes through each of these steps around your existing coaching structure and all the things that you normally do as a coach, and is just taking it to the next level so that you can massively increase your results and your client satisfaction and get into those tiny fizzy brain movements and the technicalities that you really want to be getting involved with. Okay, so the big idea basically is that injury prevention is about way more than just the movements. We're dealing with people, and that means that they have emotional wants and needs as well, and those emotional wants and needs will impact how easily they move, okay? So we need our approach to be flexible enough to cater for everybody, regardless of ability, in whatever area of life, okay? You get a 95-year-old lady, they're not going to be able to roll around on a foam roller. You get somebody with learning difficulties, they're not going to understand the technical details of getting the movements correct, okay? So we need to be very inclusive in the approach that we take so that we're not discriminating or leaving people out when it comes to any of this stuff, okay? And you, as a sports and fitness coach, are uniquely positioned to help with both mental and physical well-being, because movement does that. Fitness does that. We know this. We've known it for ages. But let's really embrace that and deliver on what you want and what your clients want and what their complementary therapists want as well. Okay, so not every coach has got the imagination, creativity, or even the desire to put this into their coaching, and that is fine, okay? You're an individual too. This is just an available structure for anybody who wants to learn more about how to create this system for themselves, okay? If you're a coach who only wants to learn a little bit more about feedback, you can do the level 1, which is the Vault of Injury Prevention Secrets. If you want to learn how to do the warm-ups and cool-downs and recovery based around injury prevention so that it's lots more exciting for you and it's lots more exciting for your clients, then you can come and do the Smart Coach certification. You don't have to go any further than that if you don't want to. But this is what's cool about it. You can become part of somebody's team who is already created more than that. So you can do what it is that you love doing, and other people can do what they love doing, and then we can all work together. But there are tools and resources available to you at every step that will help you for whatever it is that you want to be achieving, okay? So if you're not very creative and you can't think of lots of warm-ups, there's done for you videos. If you're not really sure if you're getting it right, there's extra coaching that you can do. All of this is available to you at whatever step it is that you want to be at. Okay, so the final thoughts I wanted to leave you with today is to let go of trying to prove what we know to our clients, okay? It sounds counterintuitive, but the simpler we can make it, the more relevant we can make it, and the faster we can get them to doing the movements that they want to be doing, that in itself is demonstrating what we know. If we can understand what their bodies are telling us so we can make better decisions about their training, they don't need to have that strain of having to tell us, and that proves what we know. Okay, we don't need to bombard them with the technical details because most of them don't really care right now. Okay, eventually they might ask you, but they don't really care. We need to forget about what we know, what we stop trying to prove what we know, and we need to let go of being right about the methods that we're using and correct ways of moving and all that kind of stuff, okay? It's time to stop separating out the emotional or mental and physical, okay? We're dealing with human beings. They have all of that, all encompassed every single second of the day. We cannot separate them in life, so we shouldn't separate them in exercise, okay? It's time to embrace your strengths as a coach. Stop trying to be a therapist. Clients don't want that. They want you to just help them with their movement, okay? If you want to specialize, cool. Go ahead, do that. Work in the way that makes you feel most comfortable. But the majority of coaches don't need that, but the majority of clients do need the help, okay? If we're waiting for every coach to become specialist in something, then we're waiting too long and we're making our clients suffer because we're not helping them out of the pain that they're in, out of the frustration of these constantly recurring injuries, okay? It is time to be the solution that your clients truly want and they truly desire, even though they can't even tell you about it. Okay, so what you can do right now, if you are ready to get started with some training, is you can start with the Vault of Injury Prevention Secrets. That's where we look at the client's body language and your guidelines so that you can make much better decisions. You can start focusing on them rather than waiting for their words, so that you can start and build much tighter relationships with your clients and help them to feel like you really understand them. Okay, if you want to do that, I'll drop the link in the description. If you're not ready to do that yet, I have a free book that you can grab. And again, I'll put that link in the description so that you can read for yourself a little bit more around this subject. Obviously, they will have the replay of this video as well. So if you're enjoyed this video, then click the likes and the hearts and things like that. If you're thinking of anybody who could benefit from what you've been hearing today, then please share this video. The more coaches that get involved with this approach, the more clients we can help without having to wait until everybody's specialist in something. Okay, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time.